I have just bought a Bugatti Veyron with a small issue. I had a message from a company who was selling a Bugatti Veyron with an array of problems. So I had to take the risk.
Matt Armstrong took on one of the biggest challenges of his career when he decided to fix a damaged Bugatti Veyron. At first, the problem looked serious and expensive, something that could take months to repair. But everything changed when he discovered that the issue came down to just one small part.
We actually figured out why the car weren't going into gear, and it was down to a fuse we've taped up here for safety reasons. It's still got a leaky radiator. That fuse was obviously burnt down the car because it must have kept going on and on.
That tiny piece held back the power and performance of the entire car. Once it was fixed, the transformation was shocking and unforgettable. How could something so small control something so powerful? What happens when one simple fix changes everything? Join us as we uncover the moment that changed it all. A closer look at the Bugatti Veyron's hidden problems. The Bugatti Veyron is a car that still drives and moves on its own. From a short distance, about 20 feet away, it gives a calm and reassuring impression. It looks like a car that has been cared for. The body appears complete, and nothing immediately suggests serious trouble. However, this first impression does not last for long. As you move closer and begin to inspect the details, that sense of confidence slowly begins to fade. What seemed like a well-kept machine starts to reveal signs of neglect and incorrect repairs. One of the first serious concerns is found under the bonnet. Inside the fuse box, there is clear evidence that something has been wrong for quite some time. A fuse that should be rated at 25 amps has been replaced with a 40-amp fuse. This is a major issue because that circuit was never designed to carry that much electrical current. Using a higher-rated fuse does not fix the problem. Instead, it allows more current to pass through than the system can safely handle. This decision almost led to the car catching fire. The 40-amp fuse was not suitable, and its presence caused overheating that led to melting. This is a clear sign of poor judgment in past repairs. Matt and his dad have now replaced the incorrect fuse with the proper 25-amp fuse. This change allows the system to work again, at least for now. However, this is only a temporary solution. The real issue has not been solved. Something within that electrical circuit is still drawing too much current. Until the exact cause is identified and repaired, the correct fuse will only delay the problem rather than remove it. The system is still under stress, and another failure is likely if the root cause is not addressed. Another problem that has been noticed is an engine misfire. At the moment, there is no clear answer as to what is causing it. One possible explanation is related to the secondary air pumps, which are currently the leading theory. These components are important for the engine's operation, and if they are not working correctly, they can lead to uneven performance. Even though this issue is still under investigation, it adds to the growing list of concerns surrounding the car. There is also a problem with the radiator. It is not leaking heavily, but it is not completely sealed either. There is a steady drip, which means coolant is being lost over time. Even a small and consistent leak can lead to bigger problems if it is not fixed. Cooling systems must remain stable to prevent overheating, especially in a high-performance car like this. This leak, although not dramatic, cannot be ignored. These issues were already known before the car was lifted for a closer inspection. Once the vehicle is raised and the wheels are removed, even more problems begin to appear. The condition of the tires immediately raises questions. The car is fitted with Pirelli P0 tires, but they are not the correct specification for this vehicle. These tires are designed for a different car, specifically a Lamborghini. This mismatch is not a small detail. It is a serious concern because the Bugatti Veyron requires very specific tires to handle its extreme performance. The original Bugatti wheels are no longer present. Instead, the car is sitting on aftermarket rims paired with these incorrect tires. The size of the tires is also wrong. The car is currently running 355-sized tires, while the correct size should be 365. This difference of 10 millimeters has been partly compensated for by adding 5 millimeter spacers. However, this is not an effective solution. It only partially addresses the size difference and does not restore the correct setup. The original Bugatti tire and wheel combination is very special. At the factory, the tires are actually glued to the rims. This is necessary to ensure safety at extremely high speeds, especially since the car is designed to reach around 260 miles per hour. Without this exact setup, the car cannot safely achieve its intended performance. With the current aftermarket wheels and incorrect tires, reaching those speeds is simply not possible. Everyone in the workshop understands this limitation. Looking further into the wheel arches, the suspension components appear to be in reasonable condition at first glance. The Bilstein coilovers and springs seem to be intact, and the drop links are still holding together. However, everything is covered in rust. This suggests long-term exposure to moisture and a lack of proper maintenance. The bolts that hold the arch lining in place are badly worn and damaged. These parts will need to be replaced. On the driver's side, there is a more serious issue with the CV boot. It has split completely open, and grease has spread across the surrounding area. This is a critical problem. The CV boot is designed to protect the joint from dirt and water while keeping lubrication inside. With the boot torn, water may have entered the CV joint. This means the joint could still be working, or it could already be damaged. There is no way to know without further action. A new boot will need to be installed, and the car will have to be driven to assess the condition of the drive shaft. On the same side, the brake cooling tube is no longer functioning. It has completely deteriorated and is not providing any cooling benefit. This is another example of how important components have been allowed to wear out without replacement. The under-tray bolts are also in very poor condition. They are heavily corroded and difficult to look at. This level of corrosion suggests that the underside of the car has not been properly maintained. The front bumper shows signs of damage as well. It is being held together partly by the wrap applied to the car. This is not a proper repair and does not provide strong support. There is also a missing trim piece on the lower part of the door. Inside the bonnet area, the protective fabric lining is completely gone. This adds to the overall sense that the car has not been cared for in the way it should have been. The front Bugatti badge has also been altered in a way that stands out. It appears to have been touched up using a mix of paint and correction fluid. This kind of repair does not match the quality expected from a car of this level. It reflects a lack of attention to detail and proper restoration practices. Inside the car, there are more small but important issues. Some of the bolts have been rounded off. This usually happens when the wrong tools are used or when too much force is applied. It suggests that previous work may not have been carried out carefully. These damaged bolts will need to be addressed before any proper repair can be completed. Finally, there are the sump plugs. This single detail captures the overall condition and history of the car. It reflects the patterns seen throughout the vehicle, where shortcuts and incorrect fixes have been applied instead of proper solutions. It shows that the car has not received the level of care it requires. In summary, while the Bugatti Veyron still runs and can move, a closer inspection reveals a long list of issues. These problems range from electrical faults and engine concerns to incorrect parts and visible wear. Each issue adds to the overall picture of a car that has been poorly maintained over time. The vehicle may still function, but it clearly needs careful and thorough work to bring it back to the standard it was built to achieve. The strict reality of servicing. When Bugatti services a Veyron, they follow a very careful and exact process. One small but important detail is the use of paint marks on the sump plugs. These paint marks are not just for looks. They are used to confirm that each plug has been tightened correctly to the required level. This process helps ensure that every part is secure and safe after servicing. The Veyron has 16 drain plugs. Each one plays a role in managing fluids inside the car. When the car leaves the factory, every one of these plugs receives a single paint mark. This mark shows that it was properly tightened during the original build. During every future service, a new paint mark is added. This creates a simple way to track how many times the car has been serviced over its lifetime. In this case, every single one of the 16 sump plugs has only one paint mark. That mark comes from the factory floor, from the day the car was first built. There are no additional marks at all. This clearly shows that the car has never been serviced, not even once since it was made. This is not a small detail. It means that all the maintenance that should have been done over time has been delayed. Instead of being handled step by step over the years, everything has now built up at once. All of those missing services have turned into a large amount of work that now sits in front of Matt, collected on his workbench. There is also a simple way people explain this situation. They say that you can tell how many times a Bugatti has been serviced by counting the paint marks on the sump plugs. Every time the car is serviced, a new mark is added. In this case, there is only one mark, which most likely came from the factory when the car was first completed. This confirms again that no servicing has been done since then. Before doing anything else, Matt prepares a full parts list. He does this before making any calls or placing any orders. This list is detailed and covers many different areas of the car. The list includes arch bolts, which help hold parts of the body together. It includes a CV boot, which protects important moving parts from dirt and damage. There is also a brake cooling tube, which helps manage heat during braking. Under tray bolts are included as well, along with lower door trim and fabric under the bonnet. Even the front emblem is listed. Beyond these visible parts, the list also includes items needed for a full major service. This service kit is very important. It covers hex fluid, which is used in the car's hydraulic system. It also includes front differential oil, which helps the front drivetrain work smoothly. The gearbox oil filter is part of the list too, helping to keep the transmission clean and working well. All 16 sump plugs and their crush washers are included. These washers help create a tight seal when the plugs are installed. Replacing them is part of proper servicing. The list also includes the gearbox pump and the accumulators. These parts are especially important, even if they may not sound very complex at first. The accumulators play a key role in how the gearbox works. They store hydraulic pressure so that the gearbox can change gears quickly. Without them, the system would have to wait for the pump to build pressure every time a gear change is needed. This would slow everything down. If the accumulators are leaking, they cannot hold pressure properly. When this happens, the pump has to keep running constantly to make up for the loss. Over time, this puts a lot of stress on the pump. Eventually, the pump can fail completely. On a Veyron that has never been serviced, checking the accumulators is very important. There is a real risk that they may not be working as they should. Another important detail is the speed key. The Veyron comes with a second key that is different from the main one. This key is small and simple. It does not have any buttons. It fits into a special slot located low on the dashboard. Without the speed key, the car does not operate at its full capability. It runs in a restricted mode with 850 horsepower instead of 1001. The top speed is also electronically limited. Without the speed key, the car cannot reach its maximum speed of 260 miles per hour. In this case, Matt's Veyron did not come with a speed key. This creates a serious limitation. So far, no one has found a way to get or program a replacement key outside of an official Bugatti dealership.
That is the key you use. You put that key in there. This key won't work in it. You use a speed key. Without that key, you can't do top speed.
This makes the situation even more difficult. Matt begins trying to solve these issues by contacting Bugatti directly. His first call is to Bugatti in London. However, no one answers the phone. He is unable to get through or receive any help from that location. Next, he calls Bugatti in Manchester. This time, someone answers. The call is transferred, and Matt is able to explain what he needs. He clearly states that he owns a Veyron and is looking for service parts. He also asks about a few trim pieces and wants to know the price of a speed key. The response he receives is not what he hopes for. When it comes to the parts, the answer is very clear. The car must be brought to them in person. They will only order and fit the parts if the car is physically present at their location. There is no option to simply buy the parts and take them away. The policy does not allow it. It does not matter who owns the car. Even though the logbook is in Matt's name, he is not allowed to order the parts for self-installation. It also does not matter what kind of parts are needed. Even items that are not safety critical, such as arch bolts or a brake cooling tube, are included in this rule. The policy is strict and applies to everything without exception. This creates a very challenging situation. Matt has already identified all the parts that are needed. He has taken the time to prepare a full and careful list. However, he cannot simply order those parts and move forward with the work on his own. Instead, The only approved path is to take the car directly to an official Bugatti location. Only there can the parts be ordered and fitted. This requirement adds another layer of difficulty to an already complex situation. The condition of the car, the lack of any previous servicing, the missing speed key, and the strict policies around parts all come together to form a very clear picture. The Veyron may look well kept from the outside, but underneath, it has not received the attention it needs over time. Now, all of that delayed maintenance must be handled at once. Every missing service step has added up, and the process of putting things right is not simple. The rules set by Bugatti make it even more controlled and limited. This situation highlights how important regular servicing is, especially for a car as complex as the Veyron. It also shows how strict the manufacturer is when it comes to maintaining control over how the car is repaired and maintained. When ownership meets control. Here is the key point that needs to be clearly understood. What Bugatti is doing is not strange. It is not unexpected in any way. It is simply how the business model is designed to work. Once the warranty period on a car like this comes to an end, the manufacturer has already spent many years building a system where there are no real alternatives available to the owner. Everything is carefully structured. The parts are locked into an official network. The diagnostic systems can only be accessed with authorized equipment. Even something as basic as keys must be coded through a dealership. Important components like accumulators and gearbox pump parts are designed to wear out on a schedule, and when they do, they are replaced during major services using parts that can only be sourced through official channels. All of this creates a closed system. It is not accidental, it is intentional. Independent repair becomes almost impossible, not because it cannot be done, but because the system is designed to prevent it. Once that structure is in place, the manufacturer can then decide the pricing within that system. To support this approach, a safety argument is often presented. This same reasoning has been used in similar situations before. The idea is that a car like a Veyron can only be safely serviced by Bugatti itself. A similar claim was made when it was said that a Chiron could only be separated or worked on in a factory setting. However, this idea has been challenged in practice. A Veyron was driven onto a lift, and the wheels were removed without the need for any special training or controlled environment. This shows that the safety argument is not always as strict as it is presented. It is a narrative that manufacturers have relied on for a long time, and it has played a major role in supporting these controlled service systems. A major shift began in June 2024. The European Union officially passed the Right to Repair Directive. This directive came with a firm deadline of July 31st, 2026. By that date, all member states must have the directive fully implemented into their national laws. This directive introduces an important change. It requires manufacturers to make spare parts available, along with repair information and the tools needed to carry out repairs. This access must be provided not only during the warranty period, but also after it ends. It must also be available not just to official networks, but to consumers and independent repairers as well. The goal of this directive is clear. It is designed to address situations where manufacturers create a monopoly over repairs. It directly challenges systems where owning a product does not mean having the ability to maintain it. In the automotive sector, there has already been legislation that touches on this issue. The Motor Vehicle Block Exemption Regulation was first introduced in 1995 and has been extended through 2028. This regulation requires car manufacturers to share technical data and repair instructions with independent repairers. However, there has always been a gap between what the law says and how it is applied. Enforcement has not been consistent, especially when it comes to premium and exotic car manufacturers. This gap has allowed companies like Bugatti to continue operating within a very controlled service environment without significant challenge. There is one area where the new legislation does not fully solve the problem, at least not immediately. This area is the speed key. Even within a right-to-repair framework, keys that must be coded to a specific vehicle still depend on software access. This access remains largely under the control of the manufacturer. In this case, the argument shifts from safety to cybersecurity. It is presented as a necessary measure to prevent issues that could arise from incorrect programming. This argument carries more weight because errors in key programming can genuinely create problems in ways that simpler mechanical repairs do not. Because of this, Bugatti still has a stronger position when it comes to controlling access to the speed key, even as regulations begin to tighten. As a result, the Veyron currently remains limited. It operates somewhere between 850 horsepower and its full 1,000 horsepower capability, with no clear way to unlock the difference without going through a Bugatti dealership. Despite these limitations, progress has been made in other areas of the car. The fuse box issue has already been addressed. A unit from a Lamborghini Urus was carefully modified, trimmed, and installed in place. It functions as needed, and since it is not visible, it does not affect the appearance of the car. The CV boot will be sourced from wherever the closest match can be found. The service work will be completed internally using whatever parts are available. Smaller details, such as trim pieces, badges, and lining bolts, can all be handled without needing to contact Bugatti again. However, reaching a speed of 260 miles per hour requires the speed key, and the speed key still requires Bugatti. There are still several issues that need attention. The engine misfire has not yet been diagnosed. The leaking radiator requires a proper repair rather than a temporary solution. The original wheels are missing, and the current black aftermarket rims are not considered suitable for a Veyron. The wrap on the car is also being removed, and a full service is still pending. Beneath all of this is the original question about the fuse circuit, which has not yet been fully resolved.
I removed the wheel arch and everything inside the wheel arch. That way I can access the fuse box from underneath to make sure that there was no other damage inside that box. That ain't even a fuse anymore.
There is still a significant amount of work to be done. However, the larger discussion goes beyond just one car or one workshop. It reflects a bigger moment in the automotive world. It is about the point where a manufacturer's ability to restrict access begins to meet legal limits that say such restrictions cannot continue. Previous work has already shown that cars once considered untouchable can be taken apart and worked on outside of official environments. What this situation may show next is something slightly different. It may demonstrate that working on your own car, in your own space, using your own tools, is not just possible. After July 31st, 2026, it will also be a legal right. From BMX rider to supercar rebuilder, Matt Armstrong has built a strong and growing reputation by taking damaged cars and carefully bringing them back to life. His work has become widely known for its detail, patience, and clear step-by-step process. Each project shows how a car that looks beyond repair can return to full working condition. Now, he is working on what may be his most ambitious project so far. He is rebuilding a Bugatti Veyron Pure Sport, a very rare car with only 60 units ever produced. This alone makes the task extremely special and demanding. At this stage, he is closer than ever to completing the rebuild and getting the car back on the road. Before he became widely known on YouTube, Matt Armstrong had a very different career path. He was a professional BMX rider who competed in freestyle BMX events at an international level. His journey in BMX began when he was a teenager. During this time, he focused fully on improving his riding skills and pushing himself to compete at higher levels. His dedication helped him gain recognition, and he soon received sponsorship from well-known brands, including Mad Gear Pro, often called MGP. This sponsorship played an important role in his BMX career. It allowed him to travel to different countries and take part in competitions across Europe and other regions. These opportunities helped him grow both as a rider and as an individual. While traveling, he also started recording videos of his performances. These videos were shared with sponsors and fans, and this process helped him develop basic skills in video production and editing. These early skills would later become very important in his future career. Matt Armstrong's time as a competitive BMX rider lasted for several years. From around the age of 16 to 20, he took part in events in countries such as France, Germany, and Dubai. During these years, he showed strong commitment and skill in the sport. He trained hard and competed regularly, always aiming to improve his performance. However, despite his efforts and talent, BMX did not provide a stable source of income. The sponsorships he received were helpful, but they mainly covered travel costs rather than offering a steady and reliable income. This made it difficult to build a long-term career in the sport. Even with consistent participation in competitions, the financial side remained limited. His BMX career came to an unexpected end after a serious injury. During a qualifying run at the BMX World Championships in Germany, he suffered a shoulder dislocation. This injury had lasting effects and caused ongoing instability in his shoulder. Because of this condition, continuing as a full-time BMX athlete was no longer possible. The injury forced him to step away from competitive riding and rethink his future. This moment marked a turning point in his life. The end of his BMX career pushed him to explore new opportunities. The skills he had developed while recording and editing BMX videos became a valuable starting point. Over time, he shifted his focus toward automotive content, where he began applying his creativity and technical interest in a new way. Today, his work in rebuilding cars has gained strong attention. His current project, the Bugatti Veyron Pour Sport, stands as a clear example of how far he has come. This car is not just any vehicle. It is one of only 60 ever made, which makes it extremely rare and valuable. Rebuilding such a car requires a high level of care, accuracy, and understanding. As he continues working on this project, he moves step by step toward completing the rebuild. Each stage brings him closer to returning the car to the road. This journey shows not only his technical ability, but also his determination and focus. Matt Armstrong's path from a BMX rider to a well-known car rebuilder reflects a clear progression shaped by dedication and change. His early experiences in BMX, including travel, competition, and content creation, all contributed to the skills he uses today. Even though his riding career ended due to injury, it led him to a new direction where he continues to grow and take on challenging projects. His current work on the Bugatti Veyron Pour Sport highlights the level he has reached. It represents both his experience and his willingness to take on complex tasks. As he gets closer to finishing the rebuild, the project stands as a strong example of his journey and the effort he puts into every detail. What do you think about Matt Armstrong? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Before you go, be sure to click on the video shown on your screen.